Let's discuss the chapter guide. We're going to start things off with the learning path to your dream job and salary. We're going to talk about the difference between the value of a brand name school versus practical achievements and certificates. Does it really matter that you went to an expensive top-rated school, or does something like an online certificate carry just as much weight? We're going to discuss how much interning at studios or having past experience affects your chances of landing future positions. We're going to examine a top-down approach to learning skills. What's the best way to approach workflows and topics that you'll need for that dream position? We're going to look at preparing your resume, good and bad practices to follow so you can not only make it something that's eye-catching, but also something easy to read and easily analyzed by automated systems that companies use. We're going to discuss writing cover letters because surprisingly, this alone will set you apart from at least half of the competition. However, with all the companies you apply to, handwriting multiple cover letters is a very lengthy process. So we're going to look at tools like ChatGPT that will not only accelerate our writing process, but also how to overcome this challenge of looking like something that was generated by it as well, and easily adjusting it for multiple companies. We're going to examine multiple demo reels and talk about what's good and bad about them so you can prepare yours to leave a lasting impression on the audience. Then we're going to discuss the best way to apply to multiple positions. This can be a time-intensive process that's very important, yet one we need to do efficiently. Lastly, we're going to talk about how you can reach out and continue the conversation with recruiters once we've applied. Chapter 3 is about the interview process. I'm going to share with you some of the past experience I've had with different companies, good interviews, bad interviews, and embarrassing failures that I learned from. We're going to talk about how to prepare for the interview day, what sort of materials you need to have before and at the interview. Next, we're going to examine the difference between in-person and remote interviews. How can you make the best of both? Because the truth is, they can be quite different. Then we're going to discuss attire, what to wear, and what's appropriate. Next, we're going to dive deeper in how you can make the best impression and get off subtle cues with your body language. And then we're going to look at the psychology of the conversation, what things to say and what things not to say and how to say them. After that, we're going to discuss the unfortunate truth of unconscious bias and how you can plan ahead so we don't fall into this trap. Then we're going to take a look at how you can advertise yourself and humbly brag. Many people think bragging is a negative quality, but it's actually very important in the interviews. And it's very important to do correctly. We're going to talk about what questions to ask in the interviews, because the truth is interviewers like answering questions just as much as they like asking them. If you don't have any questions to ask, you'll seem unprepared and uninterested in the company and position. We're going to talk about who you should supply as your references, because no doubt the company will want to double check everything you're saying with someone else. Then we're going to talk about the dreaded tech test and how to prepare for it. This is common not only in tech positions, but also in game positions and given multiple different ways. After that, we're going to have 2 different mock interviews. One will be a one-on-one, the other will be a group panel. And we're going to highlight some examples of the previous concepts in live time during the interview. Then we're going to discuss the perspective of the other side of the table. As a hiring manager, what are we looking for? What do we want to see? And what raises red flags? Lastly, we're going to discuss why it's important to apply and interview as often as possible. Practice makes perfect, and experience leads to success. Chapter 4 is about negotiating compensation. While many might think that this is the most important chapter, good negotiations are nothing without the groundwork that's been laid in the previous chapters. We're going to discuss how companies are professional negotiators and how you need to be absolutely prepared. We're going to talk about how to handle verbal discussion negotiations as well as email exchange negotiations. Then we're going to take a look at the psychology behind the company's motivation and their reasoning for specific negotiation tactics. Many people think that money is the only thing on the table. But when a company is firm on a numerical value, we're going to look at other incentives and options that can be offered as compensation. Then we're going to talk about the gold mine. What to do if you've received more than one offer and how you can use this to your advantage. Lastly, when it's time to make the decision, we're going to talk about the right way to decline other offers. Chapter 5 is about an equally important concept, which is workplace etiquette and growth. Once you have the job, how do you keep it? How do you grow? and how do you make yourself more valuable so you're somebody that the company does not want to lose. We're going to talk about how to get to know people. We're going to discuss the importance of keeping relationships and how they can lead to jobs and opportunities in the future. Then we're going to talk about a concept that nobody likes to hear: termination, how to handle it, how to bounce back, and how to keep your head in the game so you get back on your feet as soon as possible. Lastly, we're going to talk about when it's time to leave, how to leave on a good note. There are so many people that leave in the wrong way and burn bridges for potential future collaboration. Everyone loves a good quitting story, but it's never worth it if it reduces your options in the future. In Chapter 6, we're back on the negotiation train. We're going to talk about how raises and position traversal is different from initial compensation negotiation. We're going to talk about what you can expect as well as what you can offer. Chapter 7 includes a more detailed synopsis of this course and an outline. So after you've watched this series and before the interview, you can look at it as a cheat sheet and know exactly how to perform. We're also going to go over many related sources that have helped me in the past and led to success not only in the professional world, but in the social world as well. There's also a variety of links to core psychological concepts that we're going to discuss in case you want a deeper perspective on those topics. And finally, in Chapter 8, I'm going to briefly share with you some other tutorials I've produced. Because who doesn't like learning more? While these are specific to rigging and character effects in VFX and games, they all contribute to a greater unified workflow that will dramatically increase efficiency and optimization for any tech artist in production.